Hey, welcome to Spiritual Psychology with Renee McKenna. I'm a therapist and healer here in San Francisco. And if you want real change on a soul level, you've come to the right place. Today I want to talk about the value of darkness. Darkness is an underrated experience. We're entering the dark time of year, and a lot of us have seasonal affective disorder, which is like a seasonal depression, or just darkness in general affects us. It's supposed to affect us. And I'm going to talk about my opinion about the positive ways that we can work with darkness and align ourselves with it for the benefit of ourselves and maybe the benefit of others. But first, I want to read a beautiful letter I got from a client, a long-term client, Jess in Philadelphia. I do a lot of remote work by phone, FaceTime, and Skype, and Jess and I actually haven't seen each other in person in a long time, but she sent me this gorgeous note, and I want to share it with you. Dear Renee, your insight, spiritual guidance, compassion, and light I am most grateful for. Your work has allowed me to deeply connect more within myself, with my guides, and with others. Thank you for helping me navigate through the darkness into the light. I'm blessed to have found this work to heal at deeper levels that I would be unable to do on my own. Jess, thank you so much for that gorgeous letter. I am so grateful for the generosity and the courage and the experience of doing this work with my clients. It is really a privilege to be able to help people navigate through the darkness into the light. And if you're interested in booking a session with me, you can go to my website, www.reneemckenna.com, or you can shoot me an email at info@reneemckenna.com, and we can set something up either in person or over the phone. My sessions are 90 minutes, and about half of that is spent talking, and the other half is spent doing what I call the inner work, which is really where the change happens for people, and it's what's special about spiritual psychology and the Allies and Demons process. So, connecting with our own allies and inner resources, life force or God or goddess of our own understanding, is the allies portion of this work. And allies are always available to us. We always have human allies available to us. We also have the allies of nature and of our own highest self, and however we understand the spiritual world. And being able to connect with our allies, which I would consider our light, allows us to be able to do the inner work, the transformative work of going into the darkness and transforming our demons. And our inner demons are the fear and rage, the ignorance and unhealed wounds that often drive us in directions that we don't want to go. I think our greatest work is to bring the light into our own darkness so that we can heal and be a source of healing to others. So I want to talk a little bit about darkness now and the mystery of darkness and the unknown. We tend to have a very poor relationship with the darkness in our Western culture. We don't want to sleep a lot. We tend to be afraid of the dark and think of it as a scary thing. That's probably very human. I think the unknown makes people nervous. And yet, the unknown is really the place of mystery and creativity. And the unknown doesn't have to be a scary place. It can also be a place of new possibility, of moving beyond what our conscious mind or our regular experience would be, to open to new things developing, new things forming, and the unexpected happening. One of my favorite quotes is from Patrick Overton, speaks to this. When you come to the edge of all the light you have and must take a step into the darkness of the unknown, believe that one of two things will happen. Either there will be something solid for you to stand on, or you will be taught to fly. And I have to say, that's my experience, having come to the edge of my own darkness, my own light many times. And I need a lot of help to step off into that new place. But that's where things get interesting. That's where things get new, and often where things get really good. And I've just had that experience really in the last year, coming to the edge of realizing that my marriage of 16 years was over, and that it was time for me to really step out into my own power, into my own next place, to write my book and really move out professionally and personally in ways I hadn't done before. And as terrifying as that was to kind of leap off of that cliff, I have found both something solid to stand on and new wings to fly. And it's been a challenging and excruciating experience at times as those wings have grown and developed and gotten stronger. But I really also feel how important it is to be able to share that experience with others, because we often stay in the dim light of what we know, or stay on a cliff that doesn't work for us anymore, and we're too afraid to jump off, or we don't have the resources to be able to do that. And there are always allies to help us. We don't have to do things by ourselves. I'm a big fan of the darkness. You know, lots of people like sunlight. I tend to be more into the moon. One of the things that happened for me in probably in the beginning of my personal growth path a long time ago, having suffered from seasonal depression for years. Every winter I would gain 30 pounds, 20 pounds. I would hate myself. I would feel this sluggishness and difficulty with just doing the daily things I was supposed to do. And not only would I have that being kind of tired and wanting to go inward, but then I would blame myself and shame myself for that. And so then I had two problems. And once I started to really align myself with nature and with my own rhythms, and come to believe that I am a child of nature, and that we're made the way we're made intentionally, and that it's okay. And I started to align myself seasonally. Of course, I'm from Boston, and we have a much more divided seasons than we do in San Francisco, where I live now. But as the darkness started to come, I allowed myself to go into my own winter, and to sleep more, and to rest more, and to eat yummy food, and to get in my pajamas at 6:00 at night, and stop pathologizing myself and shaming myself for not having the level of energy that I have in June. And for me, it's really extreme. At this time of year, towards solstice, I need 9 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep. I'm exhausted by 7 or 8 at night. And in the spring, in the summer, I need 5 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep. People who know me think I'm crazy. And I am kind of crazy, and that's why I do the work I do. But so aligning myself with the natural forces has really, it's made the depression, what I interpreted as depression, actually just my natural need for rest. And as I started to go deeper into what that means for me, and I love to look at nature as a teacher. I love to look at, because I think nature really does inform us about our own internal spiritual, emotional, non-physical processes. it talks about it. It certainly speaks to our physical processes too. We all age and ultimately die and compost ourselves back into the ether. But I think to understand spiritually the importance of winter within ourselves and the value of it, that we live in a culture that expects us to be in springtime all the time. And it's really, if it was only spring, things would never go to seed and new things would never grow. So it's been interesting moving to California because it's given me some perspective on things that I took for granted. For example, one of the things that I noticed, I'm really into smell and I love flowers. And both wisteria and lilacs are really common where I grew up in New England. And both of those flowers have the most pungent, beautiful scent. And in San Francisco, the lilacs and the wisteria, they look gorgeous. They both happen to be purple. They look gorgeous, but they have almost no smell. And to me, the smell was the most valuable thing of both of those flowers. My mother-in-law happens to be a botanist, and we talked about this, and she said, it's because we don't have a hard winter here in California. And the hard winter of New England or other places where lilacs and wisteria grow actually forces the whatever it is that makes the scent be so strong. And without the hard winter, the flowers don't have this incredible aspect to them. So there's a loss of the flower by not having hard winter. Tulips also need 4 to 6 weeks of cold and dark in order to be able to bloom. If you just put a tulip bulb in the ground right out of Home Depot or wherever you buy it, this is not a plug for Home Depot, out of your local garden center, if you just put a tulip bulb in the ground, it might sprout, but it will be weak and a lot of them won't sprout at all. Tulips actually need 4 to 6 weeks. And what I do here when I want to grow tulips is I buy the bulbs and then I stick them in the bottom of my fridge for 2 months. It's a trick. And then I plant them and then they'll bloom in the spring. And, also again, coming from New England, we are known for maple trees, which produce maple syrup. And I'm ashamed to admit I have never actually seen the tree tapping process, which is terrible because I would love to see it. And we always talked about it and we never went up to the woods to do it. But maple trees need the hard winter in order for the sap to flow. And so if we think about that within ourselves and the value, certainly every night we go to sleep. And a lot of us, a lot of people are obsessed with sleep, but to really think about the value of what that is, the value of rest, the value of darkness. Sleep pushes us toward not only renewal, but into the world of dreams, into our own processing and digestive processes, digesting intellectually, digesting emotionally, digesting energetically what's happened for us during the day. There are a lot of traditions that believe that when we sleep, parts of ourself, our astral body and parts of our spirit actually leave our body and connect back with source, and that's one of the main functions of sleep that the scientific community can't measure. My jury's out on that, but I think it's an interesting idea. And certainly there are things that happen in sleep. I got in a little accident a couple weeks ago, and I was ATVing out in the woods, and I had a little crash, and and so because I'm an adventurous person, and you got to pay for that sometimes, and my leg, I hurt my leg, and I didn't break it, I pulled a muscle actually, and I thought yesterday that going to the gym might help it, so I did some squats, and I couldn't walk later in the day, and so I guess that wasn't the right thing to do. So I took a Epsom salt bath last night, and then I went to sleep, and like I said, this time of year I sleep like 9 hours. I was done by 8:30. I was sound asleep by 9. And I woke up early this morning and my leg feels so much better. And how does that happen? Like there's something that happens in rest, in that darkness. I can do all the work I want on my leg. And working on things is really important. And then we need to have this emptiness time. We need to have this rest. It's like breathing in and breathing out. We need to have the light and we need to have the darkness. And so making friends with the darkness, making friends with this natural process. I live near the ocean. I've tended to always live near the ocean, even though I don't really consider myself an ocean person. Maybe I'm in denial about my oceanic connection, but I've been on one coast and then the other coast. And one of the things that I know this from school, but I also know it from just spending time on the beach, is that the ocean tides are really different in the winter than they are in the summer. And in the winter, the tides actually remove the sand off the beach. And in the spring and summer, they deposit sand on the beach. There's this breathing in and breathing out happening in the ocean, which is actually kind of a natural house cleaning, where the sand from the beach is removed and redeposited somewhere else in the next season. And I think it's important to think about that as a metaphor in our own life. To be willing to go into the darkness, to be willing to let go of that which doesn't serve us anymore, to be willing to let go and move into the mystery that can be incredibly healing and actually support a deeper creative force, like the tulips that come up or the scent of the wisteria, things within us that we might not even be aware of that can develop themselves if we can make space and make room for them. Certainly, winter and darkness are associated with death. Again, something we don't have a really good relationship with in our culture. Although, death is the only thing we all have in common. No one gets out of here alive. And death is a really powerful teacher. I love to look at death again through the natural lens because it takes the scariness out of it. If you watch TV or listen to the news, death is always it's about violence, it's about murder, it's about scary things and horror. And, I had a client recently whose father passed away suddenly. It wasn't totally unexpected, and he was old, so it wasn't a tragedy. But of course she was sad. And her dad lived in LA. She's up here in San Francisco. And her mom called, said, Dad has died. She got in the car, went down there right away. And Mom was from the old country, from Eastern Europe. And when the EMTs came, she said, I don't want you to take my husband's body. I want to be with him. And I want you to put him in my bed. And I'm surprised they did it, but they did. And so when my client got there, her dad was laid out in his bed and Mom was in the process of cleaning his body. And she got to participate in that, which is it's an eon-old tradition that's been taken from us, actually, to spend time with the dead. She said to me, I hope you don't think this is creepy, but it was a really beautiful experience. And I've actually had the opportunity to be with the dead after they've passed, to be with the body. And again, because most of us don't get to have that experience, people die in hospitals or in care facilities, and we only get to see them after the body's all cleaned up by someone else in a box somewhere. And certainly you don't have to do this, but there's a peacefulness and a process to be actually with the body of the person. And they spent the whole day with him, and she got to hug him and talk to him. She said it was the most healing experience she's ever had. And it was really powerful for her on her way back up after all the services. She pulled over to the side of the road. They went to get a snack, and And she had a couple of really profound kind of spiritual experiences of really feeling her dad's presence and this connection that continues to live with her, that I don't know if she would have had that if she hadn't have been able to be so deeply present with his death. I consider, again, this kind of breathing in, breathing out, this balance of darkness and light as a metaphor also for this birth and death process that we're continually in. Each day is a birth when the sun comes up and a death when the sun goes down. Relationships are born and they die. Conversations are born and they die. Experiences that we have. It's powerful for me to look at it that way, and again, to look into the natural world, particularly of plants, and as a spiritual teacher. And plants are born, and then they come to whatever their fruiting is, and then they bring their seeds into the earth, and particularly if they're annuals, then they die. If they're perennials, they'll go into a time of rest, most of them, unless they're evergreens. I have to say it's one of the ways that I've really been looking at the end of my marriage as if it was a plant. And we came together, we had this really healthy plant, we produced beautiful fruit. I have 2 gorgeous kids, and now the relationship has gone to seed, and it's composting itself for the benefit of my children. And it's actually have a great relationship, and we get along. We're very respectful and kind and generous to each other, and it's really beautiful. The idea of death as a part of life, as a continuation, that if things didn't die and compost themselves, we would be overpopulated and we would be continually forced to be with things that no longer serve us. I think it's important that we trust the life cycles, that we submit ourselves to this physical reality and the wisdom within it, of which darkness is a part. And when we can align ourselves with what is, both internally and externally, then we have more peace, more power, and we can be who we really are. We can be our authentic self. And being our authentic self, our own quirky, brilliant, broken self that we all are, is actually our gift to the world, our own uniqueness. We all are an ingredient to put into this soup of life. And the more we can be who we really are, I think the more pungent and nutritious the ingredient that we are offers itself to ourselves and to others. And so that's my thoughts on darkness. Embrace it. Spend some time with it. Be in the quiet, in the depth, in the beauty and mystery of the darkness. And see if you can hear or feel or sense what is growing there right now for you. Because spring always comes. The light will return. And perhaps the darkness has something to offer it that it wouldn't happen if it was light all the time. So blessings on your path. And I want to offer you my favorite prayer. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open. May you awaken to the light of your own true nature. May you be healed and a source of healing to all others. Until we meet again, it's Renee Lavallee Mckenna. You can look for my new book, Allies and Demons, Working with Spirit for Power and Healing. Should be released after the first of the year. And if you want to book a session, shoot me an email, info@reneemckenna.com. And I'm also going to be starting a pretty exciting workshop series for 2020 goals, intentions, and visions with allies and demons, gathering our allies to face the demons that block us from what we really want. And that's going to be supported by a year-long closed Facebook group, so we can continue that work to support ourselves and encourage and empower each other to really be able to clarify and take doable, actionable processes to support our goals and intentions and visions for 2020. So if you want to be a part of that, stay tuned to my Facebook at Allies and Demons, and again, my website, reneemckenna.com. Blessings on your day until we meet again.